All right, guys. Dave Whichard, President of FFL Velocity. Thanks for jumping on. And I'm here with my man, Brody
Pompe.
Pompe. I don't
That's
want to
it.
mess that up. I asked him like 3 times before we started. Pompe. So, and Brody is, he'll have to tell me where he's at for the year, but he's protected a lot of families. Goals Hall of Fame, correct?
Hall of Fame.
And you've, so anyway, just introduce us to yourself again. Just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, where you came from. I know he came from a racing background, which is pretty cool. Races cars, things like that. And he's an awesome dude. So if he's a guy that's protecting probably average at least 10 families a week,
Oh,
wouldn't
yeah.
you say?
Yeah.
Okay. And he's doing some telesales and things like that. So you definitely want to listen in. And, he's still new to the industry. Is it still less than a year for you?
I bought my first leads in May of last year, but I didn't go full time till July. So
Right. So just at a year, but really July full time. Okay. So not quite a year. Good. All right. So say hi, man.
hey, thanks for having me on.
Sorry about that. A little bit long winded there. But yeah, just tell us kind of how you got started. And I know it's a warm market thing.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think we got to do a really good job of is understanding the value of what we have. And maybe there's some people, whether it's make a list, of people, maybe you haven't contacted, maybe because you think that they're unreachable or whatever. I was talking to a guy the other day, and he reached out to a guy. I think I shared this with you guys yesterday. He's like, he owned a bank, and you're like, okay, that guy's making money, and he was like, he wanted to be a part of this because of the integrity factor, which is pretty cool. But anyway, I don't know why I got on the subject, because you're warm market. That's why. But just talk about that, like where you came from, a little bit about your background, that kind of thing to start us off.
Yeah. So I had no sales experience. Grew up in Oregon, driving race cars. Ended up moving across the country to chase that dream. Went to school in Ohio to continue that. Ended up in North Carolina working in the motorsports industry. It was my dream. Wanted to do it, but I got to a point where my job that I loved at that time was leaving and moving to another state. Two, I was kind of at a crossroads where there's a point in the racing industry, either you get a huge amount of backing and it propels you forward, or you run out of money and you kind of just fade away. And I just recently gotten married, started that whole life deal and trying to be responsible and everything. And it wasn't just about me anymore. So, I started kind of looking around unintentionally, and luckily, Mike Curry is one of my friends, been one of my friends since I moved to North Carolina, and we were at a mutual get-together. One of our friends was getting engaged, and he was talking to somebody else, one of our other friends, about FFL, and I wasn't in the conversation, but he started talking about all these families that he was protecting and how much happier he was with his life coming from his background, and it just caught my ear, so I 180'd it and started picking his brain, and he just kind of shared that with me. And I'd seen some stuff on social media that he was posting. He's been really good about that since day one, and it really intrigued me. And it just, we started talking. The next day I gave him a call and started the licensing process, and it's been all uphill, downhill, however you want to say it from there. So
Yeah. So, and you started out last year, you were in the homes, and talk about that experience. I mean, had you ever done anything like that before?
no, I couldn't even book a vet appointment for our dogs over the phone. Like, I was that afraid. I couldn't order.
How did you overcome that?
Getting on the phone and listening.
Taking action.
Yeah, just massive activity. That's the only way to get over anything is just working. But also the culture and the systems we have in place at FFL and the trainings. I just plugged into absolutely everything I could, all FFL, all every day, as I was going through licensing, waiting on my NPN to come back and background check and whatnot. And I was all in on it. And that first dial day, when I first hit the go button, it was a little bit nerve wracking. But once I got in a rhythm and just plugged the training that I'd been listening to into my own system, it was great. So, yeah,
That's great. Well, and I think that's the thing. We talk about this, but if you're comfortable, you need to get uncomfortable, and to change your life. I mean, you just do, because if you're comfortable, nothing's changing. You're going backwards. Complacency and all those things set in. So the key is to always stay uncomfortable. And you did that. Like, you got uncomfortable. It's changed your life. You've got, making more money, I assume, right?
Yeah.
Change it from that standpoint. But it also gave you some other things that you didn't have before, right? Flexibility. Not that you don't work, because you do. You work hard. What are some things that it's done for you that you're excited about?
I'm a huge family man, like incredibly huge. My family still lives in Oregon. It's just my wife and I in North Carolina. We have some friends and some of her extended family here. Her family actually moved to Missouri. And there was a time when I was in racing that I didn't go home and see my family for like a year and a half, 2 years. Didn't get to see my mom, my dad, my brother. And it affected me. It was bad, but FFL has changed that. I've got to see my family more in the last year than I say the last 3 years put together. So aside from helping my family financially and helping a lot of families, it just that time and that flexibility to go do that. Like you said, I do work a lot, but with telesales, I can fly to Oregon and work, and I can work East Coast time, bust that out, and then a few hours in the evening to be with my family and catch up with them.
It's huge.
So it's incredible.
Love that. And I never thought about that part when we were talking to Mike earlier, about the hybrid approach, if you will. I keep saying the hybrid because I just want people to understand that. I think some people are going to get it and they're going to kill it, and it's going to be amazing, and it gives them that flexibility. But I also think that if they're extremely good in the field, to kind of watch that transition, because it can hurt too a little bit as they're transitioning. Yeah. And so I just want people to understand that. That's why I see it. I just got guys out there protecting 40 families a month, and he goes back to 10 or 15 just because he made a change that, you know what I mean? Not that it should be that way, but it could. So I just want to make sure that, not caution anybody to do it. I just think that try it, get better at it. And then when you get that confidence, then if you want to make the full change like you did you just completely get away from the out going outside, or because Mike was having so much success, or how did that work for you?
Yeah. So, Mike on other podcasts talked about these Michigan leads that he bought,
right?
And he was going to do a travel trip. He actually gave me access to those a week before he called them. And I just had this thing in my head that it was going to be harder, and I was planting seeds of doubt, which it affected me. So I actually went back in the field. So I'd dabbled in it, made a couple phone calls, went back in the field, what I was like bread and butter. And then I saw the success Mike was having, and I'm like, man, those were literally sitting in front of me. I saw the numbers, I saw all the names, and I recognized some of the names that he was helping. And once I saw that, it definitely helped me get going. My first week was terrible. I changed everything over the phone that I was doing in home. Super uncomfortable, did not have conviction to help the families, and I wasn't able to help a single family my first week. And then that next week, we came out of the gates just rolling like I was in the home, and helped 14, 15 families in a week. And I just went back to exactly what I was doing in home. So I totally agree with you. If you love being in the home, seeing the families, giving them a hug at the end if you want to, or whatever that is, then do it. Just whatever you're doing, have conviction, because it's not about you. It's about the person that's on the other side of the table. It's about the person on the other side of the phone, on the other side of the computer. And if you aren't confident and convicted, you're not doing your job. So that's all it comes down to.
So I'm sure when you first came here, you weren't that way. How did you become that way?
Massive activity, just absolute sheer drive. We have so many successful people here that want to help you, and they want to pour into you. And if you don't allow them to fill your bucket, you're just hurting yourself, which again returns to the people we're actually here to protect. So I just plugged into absolutely everything and let Mike just coach me along, and booked as many appointments as I could. I just, minimum for me was 30 appointments a week. If I could get more, great. But I would not quit dialing the phone until then. And then now with telesales, I try to up that to around 40, because obviously it's harder to go knock on somebody's door when they're 40 hours away from you in a car. So just absolutely getting after it is the thing that got me going.
Yeah, I love that. Do you not, I don't know about you, but do you ever find yourself, so like for me, it's hard for me to shut it off, Like even when I work out in the mornings, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm doing this, doing that, and I'm constantly wanting to learn. It might be a podcast, it might be reading, and then it's like, I'm just saying, it might be 8:39, 10, whatever, and sit down finally, whether it's having a quick dinner with my wife, or maybe the TV is on, there's a sporting event or whatever, but I just find myself always just wanting to grow almost to a point where it's just hard to put my phone down, man. Do you have that same issue?
Yeah, it's addicting. So I actually have two phones. I have a personal phone and a work phone, and my work phone goes dead. Like I've got to be charging it.
All the time.
And my wife, she's always, I'll lay down in bed and I'll be still on a podcast, and she'll be like, "Hey, you gotta shut that down." And she totally understands what I'm doing, and she's all in as well. I'm completely blessed to have the woman by my side that I do. So, but I mean, we have groups and we're always sharing podcasts, whether it's within FFL or just some mindset stuff outside just business stuff. So I'm always plugged into that, and it goes until 11, 12 o'clock at night, and then we're up early in the morning getting after it again.
Did you guys talk? And I met your wife; she's awesome. Did you have a conversation early on? Was that easy for her? Did you have a couple conversations with her to see the success? How did that work? Because I think that's important for new people to hear.
Yeah, I think it's a constant evolution, because when we start, it's just trying to get through the basics. Like, her name's Brittany. So, hey, Brittany, I'm going to be dialing the phones these days. I'm going to be running appointments these days. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it. And she was by my side, and we had that conversation. And then the next level is, okay, I'm getting pretty good at what I'm doing. And so there's just stages. And then you start recruiting people and helping them get going. And now you're even busier, and then you have another conversation. So we try to talk daily or weekly if I get really busy, just to kind of stay in tune with everything. And she's all in. She came to a convention with me, and
She's your biggest fan.
yeah, that was incredible to have her there. I think that's really powerful if you have a significant other and you can get them to a conference or a convention with you. That will help them see your vision, and then you guys can tackle it together. So that's huge.
Yeah, that is huge. The quicker you can get your wife, or like you said, it's a female and a male, whatever the situation is in this business, because it gets crazy and you get busy, and you live it. Like if you're really into it, you're living it every day by day. Like my wife is down here traveling. She just texted me and she said, I love you. You're things will be my best friend and things like that. But yet there are times where I'm having to be away. The good news is because of us, she's able to travel with me some, which is cool too.
Yeah.
So, anyway, as we kind of, what are some things that there's new people watching? They're like, okay, I'm new to this industry. What are some things in the beginning that if you had to go back and start over again that you might change or do differently if there are any?
Don't take pride in being an overthinker. It's silly. I was the guy that was making spreadsheets and color coordinating and doing all this stuff. And I woke up one day and I saw all these successful people, and I'm like, there's got to be a magic sauce. And so I started studying them, and all they were doing was buying leads, calling them, helping the family, buying leads, calling them, helping the family, over and over and over. And I was doing all this other stuff that was taking up all my time when I was supposed to be focused on these simple 3 things. And I got to thinking about it, and I was taking pride in being an overthinker. I was bragging about, oh, I'm not successful because I've got all these spreadsheets, I've got all this stuff to do. Don't do that. Like, I see too many people taking pride in that. Cut that out, follow the system, and go serve the families. They filled out a form. They want information. We're the professionals. It's our job to get it to them, see why they need it, and help them get it. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing, is just the overthinking deal. There's nothing to think about. It's a name on a form.
And you guys are probably investing a little less in leads, doing it the way you're doing it. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Or about the same?
About the same. When I started, I kind of went to this minimalist mentality where I could just like buy a few, because obviously
that doesn't work, does it?
No. Yeah. Like, I go in there, I'm a hawk. I'd buy CRM leads 95%, and I'll text Mike or other guys on the team, and I'll say, hey, there's leads here, let's roll. And I'm going to add this, but I love to follow time zones with telesales, because we all know that most of the people we're helping, there's a certain time window when they're available, and there's a lot of people that are working. So if you can go East Coast and book 4, 5, 6, and then catch a few people in Central Time, Mountain Time, West Coast Time, now your whole schedule is prime time when people are available. So now you have a full schedule, And I've seen my no-show rate decrease because of that, because people are off work and they're ready to rock and roll.
Wow, that's good stuff. Yeah, and any other tips that you'd want to, like I said, the whole thing is we do these things in hopes to help people, inspire them, things like that. My thing is, and being with these guys down here, watching Brody and Mike Curry and the guys in the group out of this office is Robbie Wells, all of y'all, that it's you're inundating your mind every day with podcasts, you're learning, you're plugging in. We talked about this yesterday. It's like, it sounds weird, plug in. What does that mean? But what it means is being a part of other things, being a part of learning, getting on a leader call if there's one, or, obviously have Sean on Saturdays. Can you talk about the impact of that and how important it has been for you to be on a Zoom with your team, to not miss those things and why that's important?
Yeah. So those are, you have to be 100% all in. I have a schedule on my phone. It dings. I don't set appointments over those. There's very rare cases where you'll have to, but yeah, it's just like a huge mindset thing. When you're on a team, like, you don't see a baseball team, like one dude out there playing, like they're all out there, they're all working together. And so if you are by yourself, this business can be extremely lonely, and we don't want that. We're all here to see each other win. So listen to the call with Sean at 11 o'clock Eastern on Saturdays. That's the best call of the week, I think. It gets me fired up and gets me going for the weekends, which is Saturday's our biggest day of the week here at FFL, I believe, just because everybody's home and in a good mood, and that's a really good time to put yourself forward in your business. So that call's like a non-negotiable for me. But being on Zoom with your team is also a large growing thing, because as you get better, you can pour into your team, and at the end of the day, helping other people and teaching them to do what you're doing is what it's all about, because they're going to be able to go serve more families, help their family personally. And if you aren't plugged in as a leader at that point, then you're not doing this business for the right reason. And it's just not a good deal. So if you're new, these leaders are on these calls. They're trying to pour into you, so be there. If you're a leader, then pour into those people, because that's what we're here to do, is just serve. So have a big heart, plug in, and do it.
Love it. And you can see why Brody's going to is successful. It's going to be successful. I mean, he's protecting over 10 families a week or more. What do you average in a month? I didn't ask you that question.
25 to 35.
Okay, so 25 to 35 families a month he's protecting. So definitely has this thing that, where he's getting better every day and obviously growing and things like that. So as we wrap up, any last comments, and also please tell them how to get a hold of you, with our company.
Yeah. So I just want to finish up with believe in yourself. We're all here to see each other win. You're here to serve, and we're all here to help. And if you want to get a hold of me, my cell, 541-250-2906. Shoot me a text, give me a call, or you can see me on Instagram. It's Brody Pompe _P0. It's my old race car number, so I'm leaving it on there. But yeah, absolutely reach out if you have any questions.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, please reach out to them, and they're in the Charlotte office here, Fort Mill. It's actually, but we talked about that. But anyway, just a minute or so across the line, and in the South Carolina here. But you guys are awesome. I appreciate you jumping on, and you can learn from these guys. Telesales, whatever, Valiant, and your
Performance.
There you go. Yeah, performance. I like that a lot. And then obviously, if you can, please follow us on Family First Life Velocity on YouTube, and as we try to continue to put content out that help everyone. And then if you can, also follow me at Dave Whichard on Instagram. That'd be awesome. So appreciate you guys being on and being a part of this. And Brody, thanks for everything. Appreciate you. Thanks so much.